15 at 6:30 to 32.
To the republic for which stands one nation under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all.
Wait, that was just the past me.
Big Devil, Steve Coker, Mike Russo.
And Shelley's cast a lot on.
Shelley Lacey Castellot.
So are there amendments to the agenda?
I'd like to make a motion to put top two middle school on the agenda.
Second.
Middle school baseball field. Discussion of middle school baseball. Motion second by Mike. Discussion on that? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed or abstained? So we are adding, we'll move that to item 4. Approval of minutes. Deb?
Second.
Are there any corrections for the? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed or abstained? Motion carries. Would you like to support our audience? Well, great job. Hearing none, we can move on to discussion of baseball fields.
Been in contact with several people over the past 2 days. Very disappointed in some of the kind of happened some days that there was done over a year ago by middle school building. And kids are really done right here. There's some misinterpretation of how it's not very well. There's only one other 69 baseball field in Oxford. That's so. JV
School kids play the same size field as
years ago, there was another one available, but they were going to 57 baseball field. And the option to play down here, the full box for center school design. They want to make transportation costs and everything else. It's just a compounding problem. I don't feel that it's Parks and Rec's responsibility to have to fix this problem. I don't think it's the board has a problem. Somebody said this, that's in charge of this project. My hunch is, I'm just going to assume it's the middle school building. So out at this point, I think the board needs to send a letter. Please tell the problems with this field that we are not accepting. I know there's other problems with the middle school building. Maybe we can piggyback and put some forward issues on the same letter. But especially after last budget, but we don't really have the money for having students to have these little things and these problems. So we're cleaning up problems again from other people. So there's private money, they have money, they need to fix this. They're supposed to fix the drainage, they're supposed to be able to get all this other stuff. But it's not my project. I'm not overseeing it. I don't feel that the power of the taxpayer or the kids should set quality work that's good. Whether I got pictures of weeks, it looks like it's a great kid in the pitching mouth. It did rain for 4 days. So, not to mention that I think it's terrible that a parking lot stops and goes to the third. They couldn't experience expensive 4,500 square feet of lot. So just one thing I don't know.
Yeah, I agree. Now, obviously, Rob, you can talk a minute, but here's my understanding up to the state that we we understood, and you can clarify our list, maybe you just want to lay it on. We needed to repair, there are a couple of repairs. They went in, they dug everything up, they put pipes, someone put pipes in or something for drainage. They did, supposedly they did drainage, that didn't work. But, and so then we had to come in and further try to remedy the problem before it got, so we've already put money into this problem, and so where are we now?
Essentially what
Is that
happened,
correct, up to that? point?
partially.
Okay.
So what happened was the building committee was alerted that there was a drainage issue back in the beginning stages of the project. They supposedly fixed the drainage. And they turned the building over to us, they turned the field over to us. The
And
field,
do you know an approximate date, like you said?
I don't have a date for that. The field itself, because the water rained in, and they never really fixed up the field of cleaning out all the weeds and prepping the field for use. That's what we spent $10,000 on the fall. That wasn't a
This
drainage
past
issue, this past fall. That was to get it in playing shape for this spring.
Yeah.
In anticipation that the drainage issue had been originally resolved. Now that it's past winter and now the fact that there is a lot of rain, we're seeing that the drainage was not resolved. That whatever water is up in the area is the way it's designed, goes right into the field, so it's right on down, and it collects there, and I don't care how much you spend on landscaping, all that stuff, every time it rains, it's gonna get wet. So we now asked for a soft quote on what it would take to fix that area. That
What does
is
a soft quote mean?
not actual physical quote, but
Just
actually
kind
getting
of a ballpark?
a ballpark figure. That is in the north of,
$175,000.
which we obviously don't have the money to do.
But also, give me, so what would this
It would,
$175,000?
it would raise the field by 2 feet. It would put in,
Raise it up.
it would put in drainage and it would slope the field. So you don't have to be an engineer to know that water runs downhill. So you have to pitch it so it runs to the away. Now that, I don't know, I know about the sun behind me. I don't, that is a figure that we said, could you just, if you had to fix this, what do you think this would be? We need to get an engineer, et cetera. The bottom line is, prior to building the new middle school, when I was the principal, we had a baseball field there that was functional. Wasn't the nicest place, but it didn't have these problems.
Use it.
So now we have a brand new middle school with a field that's unusable. The middle school team hasn't had a place to practice for 2 years or play home games.
Last year we had a chance for the
I-
high school and high school field was available.
And I say, I can't even play kickball there with the gym class.
Yeah.
It's just, I looked at it today, there's 90 feet of water between home plate and first base. And what Joe says about 60, 90 is the pitching mound, 60 feet, 6 inches away from home plate. Any closer, it's dangerous for the pitcher. 90-foot base path means the third baseman or the first baseman is 90 feet away from the batter. It's dangerous if they're closer, because kids are getting bigger and the ball just gets them past. So you can't go to like opposing park and just play the game. It
Right,
doesn't work that way.
so,
So we now contacted Boxline, the chair.
I'm sorry, say that again, Robert?
So this afternoon, Anthony spoke to Boxline, who's the chair of the building committee, to raise this concern. He's now going back to the people that originally were supposed to have put the drainage in. There's nothing the building committee feels that their work was not done up to par, which it's not. I think we need to hold the building committee to hold the people that actually did the work originally to fix the issue.
So what can we do to expedite this? I mean, I feel like the building committee, and I'm just telling you from anyone who's ever played sports and whoever saw that field going in, even when you saw the place where it was, you were thinking, there's no way to put the field there with the school, right? And just looking at it, you knew it was not a good design. Then you just crossed your fingers and held your breath, and, obviously that didn't work. So what, I don't like to leave it up to other people in order, what can we do to light this fire? Because these kids now have lost enough. So what are they doing this year?
At this point, they are playing away games. They're doing, like they did last year. What we did is we would practice on the soccer field or in areas just to do some infield, outfield, ground balls, throwing, pitching, all that stuff. But obviously you're at a disadvantage when you actually go to play your game because you've not been on a clay field to do your ground infield, outfield, and all that stuff. So bottom line would be, I'm certainly happy to write a letter
and then have maybe the subcommittee review it, and then board can sign off and send it to the town and says, listen, these are the issues that we have. We'd like to get this resolved because it doesn't seem like it would be appropriate for the Board of Education or the towns, Parks and Rec, to have to foot the bill to correct something that should have been properly constructed through the project. And they could try to deal with that because they're the ones that have the bonding.
Is that where we are now, that everybody's saying, not my job, not my job?
I think that's an accurate description. I don't feel, if you want to talk about time and effort, I mean, these guys here, they pay decent money, they're dealing with something that we should have never did.
Correct.
I mean, it's not our responsibility to clean up a project like what the issues at the middle school now that was accepted by the building.
They should not have accepted a project that was faulty.
I mean, it's going to be $175,000. I mean, there's some legal options that are going to have to be.
It'd be different if it's a $6,000 repair. That way, the town was ripped off. The
Right.
town paid for service that didn't
Right.
happen.
Should we be seeking referring this to our lawyer to discuss? And, because it's one thing for us to draft a letter to send to it, the building town committee or to whoever, because it doesn't, the building's been handed off to us.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, the buck in some way stops with us. Do we initiate that legal response?
I don't know, it's a compounded issue because the taxpayers have paid for this service. They only follow through either by improper design or improper work. And now we have to flip the bill again and straighten it out. And this one's already been monitored. So.
But which group should be heading the legal action? Should it be
So-
town as a whole?
I don't know in the sense that if the town officially accepted, I can't get that question. I mean, I assume that we have it, yes, but did they? I don't know.
Can we, as a subcommittee, meet with the players and just get everyone in a room and say, like, here's the facts. You're all we think, what we think is proper.
I think it needs and not. I think the town basically said to us last spring, it's your field, that you need to get it, and we need to then set it up in order to park the rest and they chose them. So they did accept it as compliance.
They don't, it's partial rights. So, it's not very.
There just needs to be somebody that backs up the whole job down the whole parties, and it just needs to be, I think, our letter directly to the engineer and the developer, and otherwise we're just wasting our breath with different parties. Like, no, nobody takes an action unless there's a legal.
So does anyone know what happens to balance the? I mean, project, I don't think it's been closed because they haven't actually. But the project's not closed, it's like high school being closed for 7 or 8 years. So I don't think the project is closed.
It's not first.
What's the warranty? It's in the contract, right? Going past that point.
But is there mercy on, you never made it right? It's not like they delivered a working model and we signed off saying, this is perfect, this is it. And then the clock starts. It was flawed from get-go. And, basically they need to make it right. And who knows? I mean, we just have to unify as a town, all players unify in the same direction. And it's from that meeting, a lawyer gets involved and a message gets sent. And then we follow through every step away to just hammer it all.
I would think we have the letter at the meeting, so you have the meeting, and then you have across the table, and here's your notice that this is. Maybe, you know, it goes one way or the other, but I mean, it's got to be.
It's a fast track.
Yeah, I think
That's
it's
why I
really
didn't want to
fair.
bring it up. I wanted to bring it up.
Yeah.
Don't want to waste time.
Are you missing anything, George?
One of the orders, but we can also say that our email box slide numerous times about the outdoor learning centers. Use 4-foot poles outside, and students are now taking for work at Massway, which is now lunch, and it's not filled in. We keep asking, when are we gonna help here, when are you gonna fill this in? When are you gonna fill this
So
in?
maybe when we have that meeting, we have a list of not only the baseball field, but any other issues. in the city.
And it's not just the outside learning center, and it's not just the baseball field. We have a heating issue in that building, the system has basically failed from.
It has, but that's last week or week, now, they just basically.
Okay, so hopefully that fixed, but we also have significant water in that building. We have holes in the roof, we have 3 locations in that building, when it rains, we get flooded areas, we have ceiling tiles that are damaged, the fire marshal has cited as low issues with that. We have water damage, carpets next to windows and doors that cause them to get moldy. We have issues where these things should not be popping up on a building that's under 2 years old.
Yes.
So does it make sense for the Board of Ed?
I mean, I'd say so. This is a bigger problem. And not for nothing, we just left the school that had old issues and everything else.
Mhm.
They moved up there, and now we're gonna have the same problem inside.
We have a list of all the issues we're talking about. We have a list, and then can we associate a specific contractor or engineer to each one of those failures? We have, and that's a spreadsheet, you're the guy to draw a notice, draw me these letters.
We have had some emails with OG, with Jeff.
That's not-
We have had some resolution, but it's like we made one step forward, we move back. Fix that, right? What about the other four? So in other words, they come up for one repair, but they're not addressing the wall.
And then maybe schedule a meeting. These are the things that we're coming up against. You know, this great beautiful building that everybody talked about last night. All these things are going on.
And my concern is that with under 2 years of use of that building, we've had this many issues. We know that we have an older building at Quaker, we know we have an older building at Goes, and we know that the high school is beginning to deteriorate. What we don't need is the brand new school, the New York 3, be sucked inside for repairs as well. That should be lasting us well beyond us repairing these other buildings at this point. That should be there and golden for.
Right,
for
not
year
to
to
worry
come.
about it.
Correct.
And then having that capital money.
Again, there's cost associated with that. There's time, at least addressing these issues that we should be addressing.
Right.
You know, they gotta bring the water equipment, purification equipment. If the heating system isn't running right, we're wasting more energy. So, I mean, it's, you know, you wanna save, it's not, you know, everybody, I heard nothing, oh, Fort Ed's would be great for town, that's what it should be. But here's a perfect example that middle school building is expanded. And now we have the renovation committee closed, and we deal with the whole other issue that, you know, hopefully money comes out. I'm a little disappointed.
And it, you know, it comes down to that it's hurting the kids. I mean, truly, so now we have baseball players who are going to the high school and have, you know, very little experience playing on a, you know, in a competitive, you know, competition.
I don't want to say George,
It's embarrassing.
George is receptive to it, but it's bigger, it's a bigger issue, it's more people involved.
Well, people need to take the action and not just give it lip service, you know, it's gotta be. So let's figure this out here. So you guys contact the lawyer and just the board contact the lawyer.
I will
have
have
a lawyer present at the meeting.
I think our first step is for me to have conversations with Zach
Okay.
bring him up to speed on where we are with these concerns. And also ask his legal advice, if he would recommend that next steps to me as well.
We don't, we're the biggest stakeholder, we work with children, parents, we don't bring the lawyer to the table, I don't know if that is. We have fixed interest in it, so regardless of who's- that's just reality.
I agree, so yeah, it'll be either, you know, Zach in person or,
Right.
you know.
And we will have to
a
call.
letter that it's not, you know, that is. not
We'll have to call a special meeting and we'll invite offline the entire building committee if they want in. I think that ONG should be invited. I mean, we're not going to be subcontract. I think that ONG can manage the project to be here.
Absolutely. I would. Get that on your list together.
We also do not expect parks and Rec.
Yeah, we're not passing it on to them either. Absolutely.
And we did put the bill earlier in the fall.
Right.
If there's any
With the
recourse,
understanding
that it would be all set. And if there's any recourse in this, I think that we probably should get reimbursed for that $10,000. That went not because the issue is not.
Still not. Anything else, Joe? No, I mean, this is, you know, unfortunately, if this is where it has to go because everyone is, you know, just circling and not getting anything done, then this is what it has to happen. Does anybody else?
What are we doing? Having to, I'm fine with it.
Well, I dealt with this last year as the building principal, and it's very challenging. When available, could get us in. They've got two teams, of course, right? The JV and the varsity, so that when the varsity is not there, usually JV is. So what Jimmy Gleason, who's the middle school baseball coach, did a very nice job last year of getting them to practice around the middle school in different field situations. I think he was out there yesterday throwing some batting practice behind an L screen, you know, without a backstop, but you know, that's the way it is. I can ask, you know, how many games have they postponed? How many are they planning to run and see what we can do? But there's literally nowhere to really have them practice other than the high school because of the size of the field that's required.
Is there any way under circumstances that the kids, even if it's twice a week, like could we ask Joe, if our kids can practice with their, I mean, they're not that far, you know, let's say they're not that far apart. It's not like football where, you know, you have 300 pounders, 100 pounders. It's not, still not good. Oh, yes, yes.
It's again, the size of the kids, you know, sixth grader versus a junior playing JV.
Yeah, Saturdays and Sundays, we can make some adjustments.
The reality is that when I remember when the budget, Jim was that last year, I think all the teams were ready.
Yep.
They just didn't have a field.
Right.
Right.
So,
We can also see,
again, it's what we got.
we've got to transfer kids. We can also see if there's a neighboring school that has a field that's available. We tried that last year. We didn't have much success. That's what I'm wondering.
I mean, it's.
Or how about neighboring public fields?
That's what we thought.
Just let's keep track of what it costs us. And add
And a part of the challenge with that is that in order for us to get the kids to another location, we need access to buses. Buses are not available until the elementary school runs are done, which means we're not getting them practicing until after 4:30 or so.
how many kids,
Usually it wouldn't take any more than like 18 usually. I don't know the exact number, but if I was coaching, I wouldn't take more than
We're gonna get 8 kids in there.
Eight. Did they run? Do we use them?
Not right now.
That's another amendment to the agenda. Okay, any further comment or discussion on this point? So I think, you know, obviously you see where we stand, that, I mean, we want to go and whatever we need to do. I mean, it's still not going to help the kids this year, obviously. It's a shame.
It would be nice if there's a period where it's been excessively dry, it's a little bit like a public there as possible, but, you know.
Now, again, we can't get them just even to practice at this field.
George and I went out there and we measured, and it's literally, I think it's like, 70 feet to the edge of the softball field. You can't run it. It's all dirt. It's too fast.
How about coming the other way though? Where the fence, you know, you're playing in the backfield and you're hitting towards the building, not going that way, going this way, still not going, still too, maybe breaking windows.
It's really a danger for the infielders, to be honest with you. That's the speed of the ball coming off the hard dirt. And it's too close for them to be able to react. You see it's broken orbital or whatever, you know, when it pops up.
All right, so you guys are good. Let's get started. Okay.
No, it is what it is. It's never been accepted the way it was, and we are now paying the consequences.
Yeah.
Unfortunately. And regardless of what happens next, this season is basically lost. There is one or two games to get in there, but that would be with a lucky dry spell. And we've got to figure out, and we'll be lucky if this is resolved next spring.
Thank you. We're on the same page. It's not doing us much good. if we can't get it started. Devin, for first comments. Nothing, Robert, nothing to the board that came through. Yeah.
No, I'm not.
Okay, so Robert.
So thank you for the board members that came to the public forum last night. And that went very well. We had Eric that spoke on our behalf. We had one of our librarians that was also a resident that spoke. Mike did a wonderful job presenting our case. I felt to stand up and say a few things for Dan as well. Jack told me at the very end of the meeting that he's going to take care of us. What that means, I don't know. But he did indicate that there were, both publicly and privately, that there's a reserve fund that the board is looking to do for the contingencies that are unexpected, such as energy, when each folder 55 that happens next year. What is a big concern for me right now is insurance. We just sent an email from our insurance broker yesterday with more information today. The original estimate of 5%, we were then told about a month ago was about 8%. We are now being told, as I say, that we're going to get new information to the state by the end of this week. They could see it at a 10% or higher increase. And if that
Information that was lower, you did. And then now
originally,
it's
it went from 5 to 8, and now to be 10% or higher. If that's the case, we're looking at potentially $120,000 more that's unexpected in our budget that we're not accounting for to pay for the increase in medical costs. I did ask the question to our broker, what would it take if he proposed to districts to possibly go out to bid to compete with the state partnership? There are contractual obligations that we have that interfere with potentially going to the partnership today. Essentially, would make part of the open negotiations with our bargaining units to switch benefit insurance. So that might not be a viable option for this spring or for this fall. It's something that we need to continue to explore what that would look like. It's not for us to go out to bid and not accept the bid. My hope is that when the state does maybe get not like Friday, then down some districts grow to think that their budget processes are mostly done, and the state's able to do some form of negotiation or pull money out of reserve. Don't just rest that we're not paying the cost of government as they are. But that's where it is right now, and that is a huge concern of mine that we've seen over the last 2 months. It goes from 5 to 8, potentially 10 or more, and we're getting this information not from the state, but from the insurance brokers. So it's not hard information from the state yet.
Just to clarify, our liability insurance is what reduced from 15 to 9%. So it's the medical insurance, dental insurance that is increasing. That's part of the state partnership.
Plan. And we did ask our group is not aligned with the town. So if the town stays with the state partnership plan, we could do something different. Some towns and districts are one group. It's, but at some point it's split. So we're two different group numbers according to our consultant. So we don't need to stay in lockstep. If they decided to switch or we decided to switch, that's not going to be a problem. Some districts and towns are going together.
So if we were doing together, would our rate go down?
It would make a difference.
Okay.
What that would mean is if one of us made a change, the other would lose as well.
And then the other question was, if we get the number that on Friday that it's 10%, and we notify Jack?
I think that we'll need to, they will get the same information as us because they are in the partnership plan. Their increase will be for monetary amount will be substantially less than ours will be.
I just want to know, so when they push their budget process, they have to have it ready for the town meeting. Right. Have a little more documentation. The second is the town meeting. So the second is town meeting, May 12th. So May 2nd is
That's when people, they start making. That's when the line item budget.
and then May 12th.
So my eyes are on that. I have extreme concerns with that. It is, I think we budgeted the right number originally, and we made changes when the state came out with the right number. It's very discouraging just going to see this going up to where it is. All along the state, and we've been advised by consultants for years now that it could go belly up. We're seeing increase in costs mostly because over the last year during the pandemic, people were not going to doctors, so the great state are people because of that. And now that the pandemic has hard to support, people are going to the doctors again. And that combined with the rates of Fairfield County, claims history drives costs. And that's not impacting the state. When we signed with the state partnership, the state partnership, we stay with them for 3 years, we even kind of a period with the financial penalty. We pass that 3 years, so at any point we could leave if we wanted to, without a financial penalty. So there's that. But the consultants have been saying for years now that because of the Fairfield County pricing, that they would expect in the state partnership to go belly up at some point. This could be the beginnings of that, especially if a lot of districts and towns start leaving the plan and result in pricing going up. It's a buy-in that also keeps the market price down.
Well, I would say tell our brokers to put it out to bid. There's no harm in that. We should do that anyway on a regular basis, just to see what's up.
Right, and that's what we talked about. That's what I wanted to make sure that we're not alone with the town that we could do this. And so our questions have been answered. So that is something that we definitely want to do. Because there's no harm in the town there.
And I thought there usually is, there used to be language in the contracts that say that reserves the right to change.
There's trigger language in the teacher's contract that's aligned in the sector of other bargaining.
Where's trade language?
That if prices go substantially high, that allows you to go back and negotiate, but it essentially is reopening of the bargaining contract. Because they also have to sign it. And it also aligns back to the older, higher deductible. That was the base that was in the contract. Anything new needs to start with that, it will go better than that. And then for the administrative contract, it needs to be at the level where it's better, and state partnership has some incentive in there, that it'll be difficult to get a better plan and a lower rate. And that would buy that add.
Yeah, I mean, that makes sense. You're not gonna go out to bid and then charge people more, I understand that, but like you said, if the state is increasing this much, then
And if
there
that,
might be other deals out there.
that could be.
Because the state was, I mean, we saved a ton of money when we went to the state.
certain companies, it's almost like you can get a big. Second year. Costs.
But definitely, I mean, looking at what's available for cuts, it's not like we want to use it against anyone, but if we can get something reasonable, it's not like we're trying to save money by sticking it to their insurance. We just want to be able to afford it and not have to decimate our, our soft expenses.
That's correct.
So I think the bargaining units could be reasoned with, especially if the goal is not to just cut them at the knees.
Right.
We're trying to provide it, we want to provide good healthcare and just something we can afford.
Right. It just means that we would end up bringing each of the bargaining back to the table, and basically reopening the contract. Yeah.
Yeah, you're not just working off the phone, it's just insurance.
We might have to
So it can't be
write
an MOU. This could be handled in an MOU.
It potentially could, but it does reopen the negotiations. But the first step would be, but if there's anything out there
Right.
that is worthwhile doing, that's what the insurance consultant is recommending at this point, at this point, potentially. Yeah. Out there. So I think that's the
Like you
next
said,
step.
everybody's got to be in the same boat, so collectively, people said,
Right, and that's the big unknown is if you have a large number of district towns that fail from partnership plan, what's the impact of that?
right.
The next piece of information deals with buses. And we were alerted this week that there are several drivers that are going to be out starting effective today or Friday. The manager is also driving buses now because of the shortage. So there could be any days that if a person is out, we end up with the same position that we were at in fall, where we need to make alternative arrangements for students before school and after school. They supposedly have a driver in the pipeline, but when that is, we don't know. But if there are two people that were going to be out, that's a big impact.
Yeah, so we're losing two to medical, they'll be out on leave for a while. So as a result, we will cover all our runs, but if anyone calls out sick, we don't have anyone to fill those. So that, and it's just gonna happen. So I talked to Rob today about of the different mitigating things that we had put together in the fall, what do we want to continue to offer? And we need to put it together tomorrow for Friday. So that's what we'll do. Just so you know.
And again, the double runs didn't work.
It's just so late. You
Yeah.
know, like we could do them, but I think it was, I think the parents, especially out at the two elementary schools, preferred us offering an early drop off where the kids would be supervised and late drop off. And we certainly have the situation where kids can take other buses home to friends or relatives that, you know, that we didn't want to do before because of COVID. We are able to do. And then, you know, I've even brought up the idea of a communal pickup and drop off space. If you can get your kids to this address, you know, that's what some towns are doing. It's awful.
It's often, and I wonder if that if it's something that needs to take place in the summertime.
There's 43 days of school left. I mean, give or take, I don't know if we have any holidays coming up or, but there are 43 days, you know, school days that are left. So not that it's not 180, but it's not 2.
Right. It's a quarter of the school year. Months of school.
Not that this is anything new, but it's the state. Need more resources or solutions to that problem. Did you just think it was gonna go away?
No, they tried to accelerate the process of getting driver certified, and
Probably still wants to work.
they have a big sign out front in front of the yard that asks us to put a sign in front of our property here, which is fine. And we look at the drivers.
All my news is not good.
Yes. I spoke
Good
to
news, Robert?
the news, Rob Schmidt has continued to increase the department chair positions. He's supposed to make a recommendation to economic individual candidates. The good news is we ended up having a candidate for each of the 4 positions. There's a concern that they might not have that. But we did have 3 will be repeated tomorrow for the ninth grade students. I will say that in my conversation with other superintendents that we were not alone in having but another district, while they were taking the power, their internet was down, their power was down, power company was working power by school. It's called power board, said, oh, whatever it is, the impact is not what you think that's together. So at least we're having an opportunity for our students to actually take the test. There are other districts that had similar internet power issues. The test that we're administrating is paper-based, so there's no questions of any internet issues or power issues. The ninth grade teachers, the rest of the administrative tests, admins will be helping with it, and counselors and guidance staff will be helping with the test. They're shutting off the Dells during the exam to make it as conducive as possible for the students. And the rest of the students will be in the building. At least we're able to re-administer. Later this week, our team that is going to be doing the trend walkthroughs are going to be working together to calibrate their work. We're taking a slightly different approach to the around the trend walkthroughs are next week in the course. So that's coming out. The trend walkthroughs that we're doing. And a positive news from Anthony is he actually is making solid progress on both the facility manual and the HR manual. There's a framework, there's pages, there's content.
There's pages, Anthony.
There are pages there. We're well underway. He even shared the HR manual with the business staff and the HR staff in the building, asking for their feedback. They actually even said, not only tell me what you think, but what else do you think I need to add? Tell me something. Give them a deadline for that. So we are making progress with that, which is a good thing. The final piece of information is you'll notice that we don't have the microphones out, and we did order stands, microphones that are good quality that we're going to try out that will hang one of the outer buildings. They do not have one in Oxford, it's going to try them first. Stands, sound system that would go into the computer, connected to Zoom. Speaker in here, so it enhances audio for those that are on digital land, and enhance the audio quality for people that are sitting in the audience as well. So that will be an improvement. We should be ready to have the new mics out at the next meeting.
So we already have them, or we what?
We're buying stands. We have mics already, and if those mics don't work, then we'll look at investing in additional mics. We wanted to use the internet that was ready to go first.
But we're not gonna wait to see, we don't have to wait to see if they work at our next meeting, they can be checked. to see if
Tested,
they
yes,
work.
yes.
It's like the mics that go on and off, like what would they cost?
We're figuring it would, if we needed to buy new mics, it would be $500 to $600 altogether, most likely.
And I don't know, I like, I like, it's $700.
We can certainly do that.
Why don't we
It's
see
not-
what- why don't we just test it out and see if we like it?
That was the plan, to say, to pilot it, see, before then investing in it.
Sounds good. Anything else? That's it. Very sure. So just to kind of reiterate what Robert said, I want to thank everyone, the show of support and everyone being there last night. Just really appreciate it. And aside from what you guys do on a daily basis and a weekly basis, really supported it to go for another night. I really appreciate it. And I think I think it shows how we're moving forward and how we're interacting with the finance. It's never been, this, which we hope it continues. And I also want to thank the parents who showed up for their support as well. It's really meaningful. There will be a town meeting on May 2nd. I have the wrong date at 7 p.m. At Creek Farm School, and that's really the nail biter, because at that meeting, it has to be by majority vote, but anybody can stand and make a motion to reduce a line item in the budget, and if there's a majority vote, then it gets passed and the budget gets reduced. There's no additions to the budget. So So it's important that we have supporters, there. So if something does get cut as far as our budget is concerned, then we can, have the numbers there to not have that go through. Hopefully that's not an issue, but, it's just the way it is. And so I think please attend it all if you can. And then May 12th is the referendum.
Both of them will be at Quaker Farm School.
Quick from Spain. Deb and I will be at the May 10th meeting at 5:45. If any community member would like to chat, which is what we're doing. First meeting of the month, we're just coming here a little early, so that, people feel uncomfortable talking about needs of citizens, if there's just something that they'd like to discuss, and we're here to just have a conversation. And lastly, Legally Blonde by OHS will run this weekend. I think Deb and I will be there Friday night. So come out for a good time. The OHS, performances are always fantastic. And, we're just so proud to see the musicians, the stage crew, and everyone involved, get back to doing what they love and that they're able to do it. So it's going to be really a celebration of, these kids getting back some of the things that they've lost in the last couple of years. So that's it from me. Facilities, do you have anything to add, Joe?
It's about the, sets of information on all of that as well. So, that also, that's also.
What's the water project? Do we have any updates?
Oh, yeah, how'd that go? We should do it this week, right? This past week?
Go ahead.
Trenches in, they were able to get the lines in, they tied into the main connections up the top of the driveway. They were able to put up the driveway, the lines going across the two, they repaved, they backfilled. They were just waiting for the actual pump chamber unit, which is going to go down by the session scan that is moving by the end of the month.
How are we on budget? We factored in some of it.
March was good. The only thing I haven't gotten is a quote for the electrician to run some outlets from the ice machine and a plumber to pipe in the ice machine. The ice machine has been ordered and it's delivered to $600. So once it's in, the ice machine's there, and just a plumber, electrician.
We're in budget.
We're in budget, and our goal was to have this done by the end of June, so we're well underway and obviously within the time that we're expecting.
Now, will the ice machine be in the building?
It will, but not in the concession stand side, more on the back side.
But in other words, it's not going to be like.
No.
No, it's more.
For the kids.
Trainer from ice.
Right, oh, yeah. But I mean, we see people out on camping trip instead of not.
No,
It's not outside.
it's not for public use.
Just checking.
Full project.
My argument with that. Some confusion, people like, what about the concession stand? Do anything in there that like phase 2 part of the project is that required to open up DEP, restrap, etc. That's it, you can't, it's just not happening part of this.
Anything else, Joe? Yeah.
Discussion about curriculum versus framework. So, discuss that in those, and we will meet on the 27th and go from there.
That Word doc, so if you think of anything, instead of calling it, go on Word docs and add it onto Word docs, or something that here, Google Docs, yes, not Word docs, sorry. And Google Docs, as the, Board of Education meetings.
Just go right and find the next, just find into that meeting and just pop it right into the table.
Right, yep, pop it, and then if it's something that we can't, we know that it's going to be discussed, and we don't react too much on that one. We can move to the next one. So, oh, good.
So why I forgot about it.
I didn't see you.
I reviewed the books
move or social. That's a great thing. Type into other. Yeah. So I sent some suggestions to do it. So people that have some ideas, so I have a response to it.
That what?
There were interesting suggestions.
How good?
I think that's very useful to know, but there's a lot of surface. I just try to pick one thing. Just it's lacking. SEL is certain covered. Chapter. It's common. Anyway. Everybody will come over.
Your comments, maybe you can send them to us, we can put them on our Google Docs. You want to send them to me?
And the other thing is that anybody else who knows, you know, freaking committee that really bad, and I think I could bring to Joe, right? So I'm sure you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I did.
I'm
I
sure.
walked away.
Right, so then so Joe has a set, and did you bring yours back?
But I did want, I brought one, but I have one.
Oh, for that. So I feel the point, so then, you know, they're not there, they're usually kind of, but it sounds like that has one.
I have one.
I got it.
And then, so,
I didn't come across the gates, but some other cities.
any problems with this letter?
He's had,
When you read the history, it's social motion. So you got the training, you got the interpreting, you got the question, all that. And I have to pick up on. It's just interesting to read. People, was it kind of mentioned, but.
We're gonna have to really bear down and say, no, we're not buying into this. But other districts and other states are doing the same thing. So it's reading through the lines. Lots of being pushed.
I had a question.
Anything else? Finance. No, finance, insurance, in person.
Or skip it.
Oh, I'm sorry, my box run. Sorry.
Just out of picture.
Exactly, I'm moving right ahead.
All right, so we have two policies today for you guys to take a look at. It's a first read. The first one has to do with transportation. The second one has to do with technology. The idea with the transportation policy is apparently we had some little ones who were getting dropped off the bus and not necessarily being received by adults, and there was some concern about their safety and what should happen. And the unofficial policy was if there was no adult to receive a young child, that child would be put back on the bus and brought back to school. So we wanted to put in writing what our expectations were as far as kids from pre-K through second grade, that an adult or someone from the receive them off the bus. So that's the impetus behind having that policy come forward. And then, Rob, do you want to talk technology and why you wanted to bring out.
Yeah, the second one deals with cell phone use, and right now the existing policy says that for instructional purposes within a classroom, a teacher can decide to prevent or not have students have cell phones out and use during that environment. But it doesn't address the other places of the building, the hallways, the cafeteria, the gym. And right now we're finding some challenges where students are using cell phones inappropriately in some of the areas. And from an administrative perspective, there is difficulty in supervising and setting rules and boundaries around that when the policy doesn't allow you to do so. We wanted to put some language in there that strengthens the administrative opportunity to set those boundaries, those guidelines within these other areas of the school. So we added in a line to that policy that gives discretion of administrator in these other areas.
So do you want to go with are there any, go with the first policy, the transportation policy, does anybody have questions, comments?
So, transportation, our original, transportation policy had different, which our students can walk. This policy that when we created policies over the understanding that we may need to tweak them as we go along on what should we have. If we are in this policy walking a mile, I think that that's absolutely unacceptable. So I think that I'd like to see us at least go back to our old policy, not walking normally, not if anything were to happen. So in our old policy, take 2 is walk half a mile, 3, 5 is half a mile, 6 feet, 3/4 of a mile, 9, 12 is a mile, which I think are absolutely more.
What is there any, I mean, I understand the distance, but I mean, you can't walk half a mile along to go home. Is there any distinction we have?
This talks about the areas. I just thought that it would make the change in how. Of course, we don't say it, but.
The other schools, they don't have. So realistically, I don't know.
So if it's not an issue, why do we even have to put any parameters in? Why don't we just say, you know, the students, you know, parents request that your child is going to walk from school, you know, on a case-by-case basis, you know, deemed in accordance with the principal and the superintendent or something like that.
You could say 5.1.
Yeah, just anything like that. Delineating something that's. And then my only other, are we done?
So, the change that we're making to grade 3K to adults get them to come to bus, otherwise it's about that to school. I think we need to add something about older siblings. a lot of times. There's families that have kindergarten kids who have high school students. Right, that are able to take them off the bus. And I know in my neighborhood, we used to take our neighbors kids off the bus because she got stuck in traffic. There's a situation that came up for someone's getting keynote. So I think that saying that it's only an adult limit, and added adult or sibling or something.
Is it sibling to be a high school age, like siblings in third grade?
Right.
That
I
makes
think that's
sense.
a very big qualifier in there.
I just
I just went for some sort of qualifier.
What's the rule as far as years? 8 class? Is it 13?
Well, 12 you can be alone.
So why don't we put in, say,
Really?
I don't know, I just thought that we could add something else.
Now, are we saying that, I mean, that was kind of, that was always, did the policy change when we switched over because it was, no? I don't just remember it always being that, you know, you never left a child.
I think it was done informally, but it wasn't
Okay,
by policy.
so what's your suggestion as to how to make this broad enough so that, you know, it doesn't have to be an 18+ person that is, I don't know off the top of my head, verbiage could be like responsible.
But then who's signing off on it? It's not like here it's coming over to the bus driver and saying, these people are on
Right.
this and they're safe. And ID every person who's collecting a child. It's,
Bus driver's not going to know whether or not that child is one that's been approved or not.
Right.
I agree wholeheartedly. My sons collect my daughter off the bus occasionally. They're 15. She's in great hands if they come collect her. They're huge. No one's bothering them for those 17 steps. But I agree. Adult, you know, high school, someone of responsible age. You don't want to make it harder for families than it already is. And you still want to keep kids safe, right? And the policy that's meant to just protect kids.
could be, just take care of it. So that could be a babysitter.
Right.
I like that.
That opens it up.
And it also implies that it was decided that this person is going to care for your child.
Yeah, I like that.
I like that.
Right.
Anybody else? Questions on the?
Don't apologize, I'm glad you take it seriously.
So, as far as adding the new verbiage, I was trying to find. I just don't want to see it. Like some school districts are doing away with kids having their phones and.
Putting in those sealed bags.
That's not the intent.
Just, I want to make sure that. It's
crazy.
And they feel that we, to be able to have that, and I'm fine with what we have. What I do have a problem with is policy, I don't know if anybody knows that name. There's part of this policy that says search of privately owned technology devices. Basically, the way I'm reading this section is that the administrators believe that the student has violated the law. They can actually take the device and remove it. I have a problem with our administrators and people in our school deciding what is wrong versus what's legally appropriate or not. We've had a situation in our district with some inappropriate child to send her. So I have a problem.
Okay, but you can't,
I'm
you can't
fine with
base
that.
this, you can't base this policy on that one.
No, it's not. I'm just saying, I don't think that our staff, our administration wants to go through anybody's phone to decide whether or not we want.
Well, I disagree. Because, the administrators are there, they are there to decide if, so if there is, if there's a report that there is something, an inappropriate picture, then so you want.
Liability is goes out the window tremendously. I'm just, for child pornography, because I've seen that in universities, say our university had some major issues. And you do not want to put any one of our employees in the possession of of inappropriate images that could be considered illegal. You don't want to be sending
Possession, you
emails.
said possession.
It doesn't matter.
You don't want to go anywhere near that or put our staff anywhere near that because it puts them at liability and risk. Hey, let me show you. You start it's a slippery slope for that individual situation.
The minute that it would see something that inappropriate, that's when they bring in the
Yes.
police
Totally
officer, they bring the SROs, they bring in
Correct.
a police officer,
Correct.
and then those conversations begin from a legal perspective. But you handicap the administrator's ability to closely supervise the building
Exactly.
if you prevent them the opportunity under reasonable grounds to search within the possession that the student has. This is something that is universal across the board in every school district, giving them the ability to search in devices if they deem it's
You
necessary.
can search lockers, you can search backpacks, you can
It's been
search.
brought to the Supreme Court. This is something that is a legal right for administrators within schools to do
Yes.
so.
Are you referring to lockers and backpacks, or are you referring to cell phones and laptops?
So,
And if it's laptops that the district is providing, I agree. If it's a cell phone the district's providing, I'm okay with that. If it's a private electronic device, I don't believe that the laws have gone down that path to be that flexible. Lockers and anything school supply, free game.
Well, still doesn't supply backpacks.
But that has been proven to be allowable. What isn't is cell phones. If a kid wants it, I mean, Joe, I would leave to you. What's your?
I can tell you right now, the general subject of cell phone search and seizure, we're getting more lessons, call watch, access to everybody's phone and cell phone.
Are you talking schools?
I'm talking in general.
Oh.
I would say the trend is, so there's two things. One is, there's always the public exception, the public safety exception. So if there's an active shooter location, stuff like that, there's a public safety exception built in. There's certain agency, we have a person that was missing, and that information to locate that person. There's destruction evidence. They can seize the phone, not necessarily go through it, but if there's information that there's groups of it prior to that. So it's kind of built into it, it's always kind of like a gray area in that aspect, like you were just saying about the lockers and stuff. That's pretty much, that's why the laws are going to sit lockers. It's on school property. Do I think that kind of maybe starting to trend in the area that the case law being developed on? I don't think it's probably been done yet. It's technology. Laws haven't caught up with technology. It's always case law that develops that stuff. So I would trend in your caution about just having carte blanche. Someone can seize the phone, but anyway, if there's an exigency to compel the person, that there's going to be a public safety aspect to it, absolutely, that administrator, I feel that's complete carte blanche. But, that's, again, I know these policies, how they're doing, a lot of these policies, can't keep up so much with what's coming out in front of us. So I would say it's going to become more restricted. The gray areas, they always have given, you're on school grounds, so administrators always have more value as long as they overlap with law.
Correct. And that should be understood. And, the other thing, so, imagine this, so you have, you're in middle school and these kids are, just making sewing mistakes. So a sixth grader comes to you and says, whatever, they either have it on their phone or they saw it on someone else's phone. So if you're not giving the administrators the ability to investigate this, then you're going to have an 11-year-old have to wait and have the phone, so then you're gonna call the police, and you're gonna have the police look at the phone, and then you're gonna call the parent. I think you're making, a big deal out of something that you can, as a profession. So if someone is abusing their professional responsibilities, then that's for, their higher ups to take care of. That the instance that we gave should never have happened, and I don't think it's happened since. So, and the other thing is, it's also changed. I mean, I know everybody now, it wasn't too long ago that cell phones, and I'm talking 5 years, I know it's changed. Where cell phones weren't allowed in school, you put them in your locker, and you didn't, if you had such an emergency that you needed to contact someone, it wasn't that you just got a 65 on a test, and you had to, text mom, then you would go to the office and you can use the phone and you can contact the parent. So, this thing where kids need constant connection with the outside world, I think it's hindering their education. Hence, these districts that are, and I just think it's extreme, but that are these targets because, the kids are more interested. I mean, they have the phones right down, how much they're trying to teach. They have their phones right under the desk like this. They're not paying attention at all. So, I don't also know that this policy, not having lunch, I think that's going to be a nightmare for the staff to try to, they're just going to be spending their whole day, lunch, passing time, bathroom use. I think that's an impossible standard to try.
Right, and they're not, I'm not saying that they do it in all those areas, give them the ability to do it if when necessary.
But the bathroom's open.
Don't distract us right now, Joe. Let's but again, Robert, if people go to this policy, and there are some people who are going to take the policy very seriously, so we have to be cognizant of that it is saying in here that lunch and passing time, bathroom use, any other time and place, I mean, Anthony, do you see this working?
Well, I think as the principal of a school, you have to be able to determine what's appropriate for your school. So if you can create a policy that would allow the principals to ensure the safe and orderly operation of your school. For example, if we were investigating a behavioral issue or something, I often would not look through their phones, but take their phones so they couldn't corroborate their stories together through their text, which is what they do. So I want your phone, I'll give it back to you. I'm not going through it. I had to deal with inappropriate pictures in my career here. Of course, I wouldn't want that somebody to share that with me. That's where you bring in the police, all right? Because they have to deal, they're better trained to handle that to an extent. I don't want that image on my personal device. That's a problem. So every staff should know that. They shouldn't do that.
Statutorily, teachers and administrators are not built with the statute.
Right. So that,
You would be technically.
so that's usually when that comes in. Well, the way it should work is then you have your work or your SRO to help you with that. So, but the bottom line would be, if I was still a principal, I would want to be able to create rules that would allow the teachers to let the kids use the phone when the teachers thought it would be appropriate for an educational experience. It's not a place where you can simply disconnect anymore. But you also don't want to create a situation where it's going to become distracting. Like, I don't need the kids to have cell phones at lunch. That would be a problem, all right? Because what kids sometimes will do is text their boyfriend and girlfriend, say, I'm going to the bathroom, meet me at the 3rd floor hallway. Well, I don't want that, all right? But if the teacher says, you may use this for this project because X, Y, and Z, there may be a special reason. Why you couldn't use your Chromebook, I don't know, but let them have some latitude.
But that is a question, and I would like to answer to that. I would like to know in what circumstances the school is not providing the resources for whatever these kids can get on the phone. I mean, they have Chromebooks, we have libraries that kids are now going into, and that's what we used to do in the old days. I mean, if you wanted your class to look up something, you went into the library, you have 20 computers in there, you can see what is on. I mean, I would really love to know what education.
The student, the Chromebooks the students have can do the majority of what the students need to do. Where the Chromebooks are not useful is if the student is either recording a podcast or recording a video or something and using that cell phone for multimedia type of purposes that you're not using a Chromebook for. It's not 100%. The majority of what the students need to do in the classroom can be done and should be done on that Chromebook. That cell phone becomes an additional tool that students can use above and beyond for some additional capabilities. The vast majority of students do can and should be done with that Chromebook that we're now providing, which is why we provide that tool.
So wouldn't it be a wonderful growth if, when the kids walked into the classroom, it would be, you know, and you walk through, you know, they have the objective of the lesson and, you know, what the outcome the teacher would like to find, and then maybe over the corner, it's, you know, no cell phones needed for this lesson, or cell phones needed for this lesson, and you put them in the basket, or you put them somewhere so that, because the kids are so creative, they'll have their Chromebook up like this, and you turn around, and this is their phone, and they're watching TV.
Right, and that's not managed by the teacher as well. Right, and a lot of teachers do have cell phones that are put in baskets in front of their windows when they
Yeah.
first walk in. It's not to manage it one-on-one, it's helping teachers develop the skills to put those into place. To
But
have.
if they had the classroom management, that would need the phones. Oh, the watches, the same thing.
I think we could have cited.
No, that was an advocacy.
But, I don't know, it's an interesting scary thing. You never know what's on there. But if you look at it, I guess, I don't know. It's a passionate subject only because, you know, how it happens, so many things happen in school, so it's a comfort. There's no point. in
That
fighting
has
that.
changed, yeah, exactly.
It's an accepted part of their life. I mean, it's, you cut it off, you can say it, but you know, whether you want to debate, it's right, wrong, like that, but the reality is that having it is comfort level to it. It's only that, what I've seen, from my perspective, my job is that they always have to reach out, they use it for their various things. So, I'm sure you have stories and I have stories that I've seen. It's just, you know, I think tying that in with some sort of, you know, cyberbullying subject and all that other stuff makes them aware of it. You know, it's like, it's the school ball house.
The beauty is, this is just a first grade.
And I can have a conversation, you and I, with Gwen, with our attorney that advises us on the policy, to ask her the question about the searching of devices to get her to read on it as well.
And I would also like input from the administrators who have to deal with this on a day-to-day basis. I would like some input on what their ideas on how they could manage this, you know, while still educating, you know, kids.
And this recommendation came from the administrator of the school. This was brought to me because the current policy is getting away with her ability to supervise and put restrictions in place, and parents and students are holding the policy against that individuality, actually set some standards in the school and provide some discipline with inappropriate actions in students with cell phones and some of these other areas.
Is that administrator looking to have search of privately owned technological devices? Is that one of the requests from the supervisors?
No, because that's always been in the policy. That's always been there.
My question would be, is in those situations, if there are other parts of the other policy that we could change and apply to maybe some of their concerns? In our whole policy world, you know what I'm saying? If there's a certain thing that we could kind of come about with the same result without having to tread into some case law. Because, you know, the double-edged sword is, you know, on top of that, child, suspected child abuse neglect. That situation transition home, there's the times where we can decide that, you know, the teachers are mandated with orders, believe it or not, there's 5 people in the state that just want to process the tops, just not reporting. I know it's up there. I mean, you get somebody that's really interested in something, they'll be able to sue.
Right.
That's just some, everything is.
So the ability for administrator to search within cell phones or laptops is within this current policy and has been within the jobs policy for school districts for at least 10+ years. That's been standard in these policies, and it was in our policy before and is in our current policy now. What's up for question is the ability for administrators to set some standards to blend their cell phones to the meeting. And right now, what's taking place is what administrators telling me is that when students are using the cell phone inappropriately in some of these areas, and they're trying to say to the student, you can't use it during this time, or you're violating school rules because of your use of that. The parents are then coming and saying, the policy says that my child's allowed to use a cell phone in that area during this time. You can't do it without it. And that's preventing an administrator from setting boundaries on how these devices can be used. So it's not a question of searching and looking within the device, and just using it in the first place.
I would say this, we're looking to touch this policy, and at least from my perspective, I will vote against any altering until that is pulled for just the protection of the employees. And that's just my opinion on it. I didn't, it's been in there for 10 years. I didn't vote on it then. But if it's coming up for discussion, that's a point of concern for me.
I will have a conversation with Brandon about that one piece there. I would advise this board not to take it out. That piece there provides the flexibility that the administrator needs to have within their school in the moment to search to see if something inappropriate is taking place in the bullying aspect, the sexual harassment aspect, something inappropriate, a dangerous situation, the student searching about weapons. If that's not there, it provides a huge obstacle for an administrator to keep the children in their school safe. I understand what your perspective is, but I would seriously, significantly, and seriously for
Or maybe, I don't know the exact language, but that, you just leave it to the administration of the school. So that you're not, if you're concerned about, teachers taking cell phones and looking through them, that would be appropriate. And, there's a level of expectation of professionalism that no administrator would be, going through somebody's phone just to see what kind of pictures they have. You have to have cause to do that. If you have cause to do that, it's usually a pretty major cause.
Yeah. If there's a concern of what indicator might be doing, then you put a standard that 2 administrators or 2 non-staff members must be present when it relates to search to protect any one individual from abusing the rights of the air.
I don't think it should be our responsibility to have an SRO or
But the
You
process
have to be careful with that because
different.
there's a different standard case law that allows administrators and school personnel to control these things as opposed to being an agent of law.
We can search things that police officers can't for different reasons. That's why.
Right.
Right. And that's what the case law has.
I was just gonna say that everything that I was reading about this, this discussion has to be, you have to have a reason to look.
Right.
This is not a carte blanche thing in the search, and then it has to be tailored for what you're looking for.
Correct.
It's not just, somebody was using their phone in class, I'm gonna look for it. You can't do that.
Correct.
That's not supported in law either. It's very restricted in terms of what you can do and how you can search.
So they have to, so there was someone had something on their phone, and I saw the photo. That means the expectation of the administrator to get the phone and look at the photo album only.
Well, again, this is how I would envision the conversation going to the child. And not even that the administrator, I don't see all of these pictures and, everything else. So here's an expectation. Do you have, is this picture on your phone? And if they say no, then are you sure? There's ways to get, I have, whatever, intel, you do have this picture. And then if the student brings it, and a lot of times they will, these are kids who are doing silly things and they're, they're not.
Is this state law or is this a federal? Is this common everywhere? Or is
This is common. I have been involved with technology data policies for 20 years. This is standard, district by district. If you look at technology data policy, this is in every single one in the building. For
or national?
Education.
education. This is not unique to here. No different, and we have the right at any time to look at any staff member's email, computer. There's no specific privacy of any school device. And
A school device, yes, but you couldn't go into their personal. Well, you couldn't go up to a teacher and say, in your phone, unlock your phone. I'm gonna go into your personal email or in your personal photos, and I'm going to review. I don't think the administrator could, you could say the policy allows it, but that is dipping into some gray area.
that's where the case law is, and that's why I would like to talk to Glenn and get her advice to the board as to what she thinks about that clause. Glenn, should make Glenn.
The two. Okay, so to be continued. Thank you, Nicole. No, I don't think you have a problem with that. I just don't know if that's going to help, then that's fine. Subliminal. Okay. Mike.
I'll be quick.
Okay.
We had a public hearing. It went well. We identified there's the finance subcommittee is looking at some cuts because we'll have to go deeper potentially if we get the 10-12% insurance jump. But some of the highlights are like Chromebooks, liability insurance, professional development, tutoring services, reducing OTPT, stipend reductions, non-instructional supply reductions, OMS operations, delay social studies rollout, OMS sports transportation, restructure the math SRBI and pay-to-play insurance, eliminate it, or provide the parents the opportunity to pay for that for their kids to play. None of these are good, as we talked about at the public hearing. We don't want to do any of it. We'll find out what, if any, of the 200,000 gets restored, and also we have to find out what the insurance is going to be, what our options are. So I'm guessing we have a meeting on April 14th. I'm guessing after we hear on Friday, that we're probably going to have a follow-up, and then at some point, I hope to hear back from the finance board on what their number is, and we're going to have to respond to that, and then bring forward something to the board to review based on where we are. So I'm guessing in the next week to 15 days, we'll probably have another subcommittee meeting to gather some data.
I said it privately, but I just want to say on the record, thank you for how you presented last week. Rob also. I think you really put our nice job.
Any liaison reports?
So it's Thursday. Next week is the I was at 1-3. And they are really desperate for volunteers. So if anybody can help them out, they're going to be sending out a sign-up sheet for volunteers. Parents, I understand that's going to allow them to be back in the building.
Yeah, we're reopening it up, yeah, for parents to volunteer for events in the library, cafeteria, hallways, that's like going to the classroom, but larger areas.
So if anyone in the audience who can help, besides you, I'm not honored to. Great, appreciate it. I know they're really struggling.
Why don't you have the members send it to us and we can look at it? That's all work. I might be there. I do mention it. Anybody else? So then, right now, our agenda is executive session, and Deb has a motion.
As your board hereby move that the board enter into an executive session for the discussing the potential amendment to the contract with the employment of the
That's it.
Discussion? All those in favor? Opposed or abstained? Motion carries. Yes, that's fine. So now what are we doing as far as when we go into executive session with Shelley?
We could clear this room and just use this room.
We could just take that laptop. What?